Is there anything else to look for next weekend to prepare for Ohio State and hang our hat on other than just the weather?
Yeah, putting a full game together without turnovers, looking like they have once this year. What game was that, Anthony?
Believe it was when they played Central Michigan.
Your Central Michigan Chippewas, exactly. They put it all
Who
together.
are bowl eligible, by the way. So
exactly.
That win has aged very well.
It has aged extremely well. So that's what you're looking for at this point, right? You're looking for cleaning it up to the point where, okay, there aren't any turnovers. We're getting our yardage. We are getting the stops on defense. You're putting it all together, a full game where you're saying that looks like a really good, crisp football team that's ready to play its biggest game of the year. And I know that's cliche and probably not what you're looking for. We've seen a receiver emerge, Ramez, where, okay, now you're like, okay, we got something in the passing game that we didn't have here before with Underwood-Marsh, who had the best performance by a true freshman receiver I've ever seen at Michigan and anybody's ever seen, frankly. I can't think of number two. Did you guys do a note for this by any chance for the site or the magazine, who number two might be in terms of true freshman performances?
Well, yardage-wise, it's the most by a Michigan freshman since in history dating back to at least 1979.
Yeah. And there was nobody before that. I can promise you there was nobody before that, because that would have been the 1970s. Freshmen weren't eligible before, 1973 or something like that. So, and I
don't know. I wasn't alive yet.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And in the Bo era, they were not going to have those guys that were catching a lot of passes. So, but unbelievable that they were that how good he is. I mean, he's not dropping any balls. The catch on the sidelines, it's funny. I tweeted, I said that's a pro pass and a pro catch on the sidelines from Underwood to Underwood-Marsh. And of course, you had some Buckeyes and Spartans saying that was one of the top 10 that I saw this weekend or something like that. Bullshit. It was an unbelievable grab. So now you're going to see teams probably scheme to try to take him out of the things, and maybe that opens some things up for Donovan McCulley and the tight ends. So, but I want to see a crisp game, Ramez, this weekend where they just everything goes right. They don't turn the ball over, and they look like the Michigan teams that we saw from 21 to 23 when it came to, okay, these guys are really looking like a together football team.
The Underwood to Marsh combo, just to talk about that for a second, Bryce Underwood throwing to Underwood-Marsh is 37 of 45 on the season. That's an 82.2% completion percentage. 565 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 15.3 yards per pass attempt. It is elite right now. Maybe doesn't have quite the targets, 45, that some of the better combinations in the country have, but that's actually pretty high, especially considering he didn't become a starter until October. So, I love that. They were feeding him early and often. Bryce Underwood seems to like to look his way. I know Sharon Moore said today, partly that they felt like they could exploit some things in the past game, and then, things kind of went his way. But feels like Bryce really trusts him. He's had 0 drops all season long, according to PFF. And, really, I think that you found a staple in the passing game. Now, here's the thing is, okay, how much can you do in the passing game? And can opponents start to sit on the things that you do well, like we saw Northwestern do as the game went on? Bryce Underwood made a terrible read on his second interception. A run pass option, he has to hand that ball off 10 times out of 10. The safety, Robert Fitzgerald, is sitting right there on the slant route. So you got to have counters. If teams are going to sit on what you're doing well, to your point, Chris, like they're maybe going to try to take Marsh away, or they're going to try to take your best passing plays away, which were those slants in this game in the run pass option. He goes 7 of 10 on those, and it looked really good until it burns you at the end. So he's still learning. Can't make mistakes like that, but you have found some things that have worked here against a pretty solid defense in Northwestern. So coming out of the bye, I liked what I saw in that regard. As far as this weekend, real quick, just if it could look like the 2021 Michigan-Maryland game before the Ohio State game, where you really were clicking in all 3 phases, the special teams, you had a return for a touchdown, right? You put a bunch of different stuff on film. You're throwing it to Donovan Edwards. You gave Ohio State a lot to think about. The defense was good. I mean, that would be the ideal. But right now, the ideal is just win the game and get to the Ohio State game with hopefully some things you've been holding back and a raucous crowd behind you, and being one of the tougher tests and dragging them into the mud more than any team has this year. and see if you can eke out a win in that one, and then no one will care that you turned it over 5 times against Northwestern, or you struggled against Purdue, and couldn't put Michigan State away until the end. All these things that we're kind of harping on now because they're relevant can become irrelevant if you beat Ohio State, and you have to beat Maryland first too.
Yeah, of course the goal is just win and stay healthy, because if they have a closer than expected win this weekend, it's going to be the same as the rest of them outside of the one, obviously. So that's what I want to see. I have a couple Andrew Marsh numbers here before we move on. Did write a story about him earlier today. He was obviously a big topic of discussion during the Monday press conference. So Andrew Marsh was a 4-star guy, number 157 overall player, and the number 22 wide receiver in the 2025 recruiting class. Through his first 10 games, Marsh has 37 catches for 565 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that is already, from a yardage perspective, more than Colston Loveland had last year. And in terms of wide receiver production, Samaj Morgan led the wide receivers last season with 27 catches. Tyler Morris led them in yards with 248. So he is, and that's obviously not the bar. That's not the standard, but you're looking at a guy who, it's not crazy to think he finishes the regular season with 50 catches and maybe close to 700-800 yards. And that's without really playing much in the first 4 games. That's very impressive. And the last thing from a numbers perspective, and I know this guy's been banged up a little bit, Takorian Moore at Oregon, 5-star guy, number 1 receiver in the class, has 28 catches for 443 yards and 3 touchdowns this year. Hasn't played since October, but it just kind of puts into perspective the impact that they are getting from a Marsh right now, which is absolutely huge.
I love it. I missed it. That elite receiver, and I think he's going to be that. It's too early to say that he is, guys, but you can see the ball skills. You can see that this kid is on his way. Those balls are humming. That ball that he caught on the sidelines, guys, was a game play. 3rd and 10, right? You're facing 4th and 10 with what, 1:50 to go or something like that,
What
guys?
would you have done if they didn't get it?
Oh, you go. I think you have to, don't you? Did they have 3 timeouts left?
They had 3 timeouts left.
Boy, that would have been tough. And they were at their 35. It's a great call. It's a great question. I think maybe they would have punted. Well, regardless, with that punter, maybe you go, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, but that just goes to show you the fine line between winning and losing. I see some comments over here. Didn't Ballas predict 8 wins this year? No, I predicted 9, number 1. So what's your beef? My beef is you needed a last-second field goal to beat a Northwestern team that had no business being in that game with you. People can say they're a good team. They're 5-5. They're just an okay team in the Big Ten that you should have put away earlier. I expected them to continue to improve throughout the year. With the injuries, I get it. Everybody has injuries, though. And on the offensive line, they've replaced a couple of guys who, frankly, are being outplayed by the guys that are in there now. The guys that are in there now, in my opinion, are better than the guys, or at least pretty damn comparable to the guys that they replaced. And in Jake Guarnera's situation, I think he's a much better option at right guard. So, the defense hasn't been all that banged up with the exception of Rod Moore. That's a big one. Obviously, hopefully they get him back for Ohio State. Somebody else asked about him over there. Is his season over? I think we could see him against Ohio State. So, but point taken on the injuries, but everybody's got them. It's one of those years. And, but yeah, you just want to see a little bit more, and you don't want to see a 5 turnover game ever. That should never be the case.
Another number on Andrew Marsh I'm looking at PFF, and you can filter by class, and among freshmen, he's 2nd in the country with 37 receptions and 2nd in the country with 565 receiving yards in his class. Malachi Toney of Miami, absolute dog, is higher in both of those categories, but that's it. And this was the 22nd best receiver in the country on a team that, maybe he was able to play earlier because you didn't have a ton of talent at receiver, but either way, he was going to earn a spot. This dude was ready, maybe not from game 1, but at least from game 3 or 4. So he's been a stud. They needed a difference maker to step up, and he's maybe not elite college receiver yet, but he's going to get there at some point, and you can see the flashes.
Yeah, and if they're able to find a guy who you can put on the outside as like a better version of what Donovan McCulley is giving them from a skill set perspective. Guy that can win those jump balls down the field, contested catches. That's just going to make him all that more dangerous moving forward. So incredibly exciting, especially it feels like Michigan recruits like these 4-star guys in that like 150 to 200 range a lot. And a lot of times they've turned out to be okay, but it looks like they might have a legitimate star here. So that's a great find on their part and great get. So give credit where credit's due